Really solid game number 1 coming out for Naventic in this series. Jay Howe running the triple tank, playing safe, a little bit different in their shot calling, not being super aggro, super ham sandwich.
So you said that was pretty solid, Jake, right? Yeah.
He does it.
I don't know, man. Just knock it out. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing is that's the Naventic that we want to see. Yep. That's not the Naventic we always see. The thing about it is, imported support, they're on the biggest stage of their lives. I mean, this is to play to be a professional video game player, right? It's the prestige.
Recognized by Blizzard, not even just
prestige.
Like, you can say you're a pro gamer all you want if you're playing like Smash Bros. And a lot of those guys are absolutely amazing. That's my background. But like, you know, to be acknowledged by a company like Blizzard Entertainment as a pro gamer, you can put that in your resume and someone's gonna be like, wait, really? Like, that's a thing?
That's not too bad.
That's pretty cool.
That's not too bad. But that's the thing is like, it's a best of 7. If it's a best of 3, all of a sudden you're like, oh, we're in trouble. If it's a best of 5, you're like, things don't look good. Best of 7, you can be patient, right? You can be patient, get the jitters out of the way, and say, all right, 1 game's not that bad. I mean, it's you have to win 4 games. Right. So I think that if imported support has any nerves at all, which undoubtedly they have to have some nerves on this level, right? So I think that we didn't see a bad, I think they lost a few things in draft, but we didn't see a bad team. We saw a team that had moments to where it looked like they might be able to turn a team fight or take a team fight. I mean, at any moment there, things could have turned in their favor, but Naventic, they played the game that we thought that they would, but now imported support has another chance. And I like the fact that we have the best of 7 for those reasons, is that you can get all of those nerves out of the way, calm down, regroup.
Yeah. Well, it's time to figure out what our next battleground will be for this series. And it's looking... Are you excited, Jay-Hal?
Naventic loves this battleground, right? They love it because I've already expressed how much they love to fight, right? And Battlefield of Eternity, you can't disappear. You cannot disappear from a fight. It will be in front of your face, whether you like it or not.
And it's not a choke-all map.
I mean, I don't know what map it's going to be, Cho'Gall for imported support, but this is a battleground that Naventic has loved for a long time. Their results have been mixed, obviously, this season, but this is a battleground that they love. We've seen some very different drafts from them. Everything from picking up Zeratul to picking up Lunaras. It doesn't matter. You know, they're going to run it. They're going to try and protect that backline and see what they can do. We'll see what Naventic wants, but more importantly, if imported support, maybe a little bit better draft than game number 1.
So other heroes that are quite prominent that we didn't see in the last series, Greymane definitely comes way up in the ranking. You know, he's got the burst, he's got the anti-tank, the auto attack, the spell. He literally has everything you want out of a damage dealer except for self-sustain.
So one thing that's interesting is that we're on the live patch. A hero that used to be very prominent on this battleground was Tyrande. Now, we haven't really had a lot of time to spend with the new Tyrande, so I wonder if anybody might feel comfortable to go into the Tyrande.
Yeah.
I doubt it, but it's an option.
She's not a solo support.
No, definitely not.
She's not a solo support. She definitely, her Hunter's Mark build now in the reworked Tyrande is better than it's ever been because you basically have permanent Hunter's Mark on that Immortal if you're able to freely auto attack a lot. But the thing about Tyrande is you have to leave that pick for later. So in the event that you don't have the supports that you want, because if you zone Tyrande out, like she don't. Ooh.
Alarak also one of those heroes that just recently received some changes, and we've heard from so many pros in the past is that Alarak, this is one of his better battlegrounds. You can use his telekinesis, pull him into a boss stun. And now we've seen, if you've been playing any heroes, you go up against the good Alarak and you're like, man, this is not fun, right? You know, Alarak is a terrifying hero right now, but it's got to be in the right environment. So taking that off the board, you now leave Greymane open. Greymane is so powerful on this. Going into Worgen form, hitting with those melee attacks, it's such a dominant thing that it'd be almost impossible to think that it wouldn't either be first pick or first rotation.
I agree. He's a monster in every right on this map, and most maps. And he seems very likely. We've seen a lot of Genji prioritization. The mobility on this map is insane. You can get a lot of safe poke with Genji. In the past, Vala with the Monster Hunter build was a thing, not super popular anymore.
The thing with Naventic, if you look at drafts as a whole, do not look at the last week that we saw Naventic play on this battleground. That looks rough. Genji is going to be there. And so that's not a bad choice, but we've seen a heavy prioritization on Genji. Again, I talked about Greymane. My mind would be blown if he doesn't get picked in this first rotation. I agree.
Genji, go for Malf, get that support locked in early.
I want throwback, because it's not something we've seen that often. I want throwback Tomster on Greymane. Tomster, it was about a little over a year ago at this time.
Li Ming for the poke. Li Ming Greymane is okay. They're giving up Greymane. That's surprising. Very surprising.
With this being Naventic, like... Somebody's going to get him. Somebody's going to get him. Might as well be imported support. Zarya, Greymane, Genji, you have locked in every ounce of your damage. Now, Naventic will know... I don't know what that Rex are. They're having a little fun in draft. But there's no way possible now that you have Li Ming. Now you can do your heart's content, right? You can only have such an aggressive warrior. If you go auto attack right now, you know, we're going to see something on the side of imported support. It's going to be another warrior and support. But now you have the possibility of just saying, we can pick whatever damage we want that feels counters what you have. Because no matter what you pick from now on, you know the warrior pools, right? Anubarak's not there. You can go Arthas, Johanna, maybe Muradin, maybe Varian. But beyond that, you know exactly what you're getting. And I think that I'm a little bit surprised in Imported's early prioritization on all their damage.
I mean, I like the Zarya pickup, but yeah, the Genji Greymane seems a little bit all in.
Compositionally, it's not terrible. It's just like your first 3 picks, just get it out of the way.
Right. Zarya offers a lot. We talked about the Li Ming, you know, being predictable damage. You see it coming, you throw the shield out, full energy, yay. She also does a lot of good poke onto the Immortals. You go with the Q build, it's fantastic. But yeah, not getting one of those main supports does bring out that Uther ban. And, you know, if they were to try to do something like Ariel at this point, you don't have a fantastic energy builder for Ariel on this map. You've got Greymane and Genji. They're fine, but they're not the classics that you would expect to see, like a Cassia, maybe a Gul'dan or a Vala. A little bit more prominent for that position. And it ends up being a Zeratul ban.
Gotta respect the Zuna Zeratul. I
mean, when he's on point, that Zeratul just...
It's scary.
It just wins games.
It's scary. Mechanically, one of the better players. Just we'll see how much he retains that aggression, right, on what we saw early game. And again, this is a battleground where Naventic, despite having a lead, I've seen them be so aggressive multiple times. And against a team like this, you got to start to wonder, do you feel comfortable? And it's not something Naventic traditionally runs. Sylvanas always an option if you feel comfortable that you're going to win. But going up against this comp, again, B-Kid Muradin, it is what it is.
That's his jam.
That is his jam. They're going back into Cassia. I would not be surprised unless Tyrael is picked up here by imported support if Naventic goes that route. In imported support, I mean, you can go in. You now are back into this dive comp with Greymane Genji. You still have good immortal control in terms of doing damage and if you try and race, right? If Zarya can build up the energy, Genji can get the stacks on his Q, then eventually he can put some damage onto the immortal. But when it comes to team fighting, you're now going to fit that role. If Genji is a ranged hero, labeled as a ranged assassin, Greymane ranged. But guess what? They're not finishers until they press that E button.
No.
And both of them.
You got to commit. Yeah, you're going in. You're going for the melee and beyond.
And if you want to dive, Tyrael, not Judgment Tyrael, but Sanctification Tyrael, would be a really good option.
This is really tough for these last 2 picks because Zarya is not a main tank. You need a tank. You need someone that can zone. It could be Johanna. It could be a lot of different heroes. But then you also need your support.
You could go solo Zarya with an Abathur here. Just it's weird.
It's a little risky.
But it is a very recent NA thing to do. Instead, they pick Varian. I feel much better about that choice.
They go for the Varian. Yep, I like that. You got a little bit of lockdown, a lot of anti-damage for that Li Ming burst that's coming through to deal with the Cassia. Rengar is pretty much the only support option, based on needing a tank in that slot as well.
How surprised are you at the recent surge of Abathur in HGC on Battlefield?
Dude, I love it. I think
it's something that it blows my mind on how frequent it's become.
You're no longer vulnerable to cheeky rotations. You've got the mines all over the place. You've got a lot of pressure. You've got soak. You force them to, if it's drawn out poke phase, which is becoming more and more popular, Abathur just gets more valuable because he's hanging out in lane, getting all that additional soak for the team. Dehaka
over Tyrael.
That's surprising.
I
I mean, I guess it's Zuna's hero, and he's feeling warmed up on the Dahaka, so
is he that confident in the Dahaka rework? I mean, most people are seeing it as a nerf, right? I don't think it's overall that bad. I mean, it gives you a little bit more flexibility at level 1, but beyond that, it's pretty much the same, right? I mean, Dahaka level 1.
Flexibility is one way to word it, I guess.
Yeah, but either way, the thing about it is, I'm actually really surprised they didn't go Tyrael there. Tyrael, I mean, you basically needed a solo laner at that point. Dahaka fits that. Tyrael can fit that as well. But we've seen Zuna play Tyrael multiple times on Battlefield of Eternity. He's one of the better Tyrael players in NA for sure, and he's been that way for a long time. Dahaka, it's kind of interchangeable in terms of who you wanted as your solo laner. The opportunities for Dahaka on this battleground aren't as high.
Yeah, Burstwalker is not like the same kind of beefiness, and there's only 2 lanes, so Soak's not as prominent. But yeah, like giving up things like Sanctification and Holy Ground for these fights, like Holy Ground's insane on this map. There's so many small choke points. You can just seclude one person, blow them up, like, light them up.
It falls in. Tyrael, the one thing he lacks is that hard CC.
Yeah.
So, unless you go Judgment again. But he lacks that hard CC. So, if you go with the Stormbolt, which we'll likely see Stormbolt build with the Perfect Storm, into some roots, into the tongue, you can start to isolate some of those frontline heroes or somebody that hits that backside. If you land that Stormbolt, say a Genji dives back or a Greymane dives back, you now have a very frontline heavy team on imported support, stacking that vulnerability post 13 and potential CC follow-up. So, I can see where it would be what they want to do, what Naventic likes to do.
Alrighty, well, it is time for game number 2. A lot of damage, a little bit more support on the side of imported support. We'll have to see if they can bring it back here in this matchup. Those Zarya bubbles, we'll see how much value they get in that early push, which is pretty much guaranteed to happen here. But Naventic looking to hold their spot here. Strong game number 1, and a lot of comfort picks here as well in game number 2.
Yeah, and again, we saw Biggie on Cassia last time. We did see Tomster on it last time with Biggie on Zarya. So they've got that Tomster obviously being on that backside. Swabs Magoo will be on Greymane hitting that back line while Ignition going to see if he can get that car started on Genji.
See if he can get that car started. I like it, Jay.
I was waiting for you to pick it up.
Okay, well, when it comes to the actual just, burst down of the Immortals, you look at the race, it's pretty even. Cassia is a beast. Like, people underestimate the amount of damage that she can put out, but it is substantial for sure.
Yeah, we don't see the lightning talent for Rhaegar there. As we see Roots follow-up stun. There's a little bit of a combo we talked about. It feels like I just talked about that.
Oh, Where barely slips away himself. That is brutal. Early start. I mean, we were just saying, like, you kind of want to find that early pressure. You go Zarya, you say hello to the towers, give me lots of energy, please, and you just lay the pain, but if you die, you can't really do that.
With the draft that we have from imported support, it is now basically sent Genji to be your solo lane against Dahaka. Genji not exactly the best wave clear. He's going to continue to try and poke away at Zuna there. Again, because Dahaka can't clear instantly or almost instantly like he used to, it does take him a little bit longer to get that essence, but make no mistake about it, should be a lane that Dahaka should control.
Absolutely. Hands down. Well, Varian, at 4, grab that shield wall. That'll help deal with some of this pressure that's being thrown his way from Tomster and Biggie. Just kind of, the onslaught. Crux seems to be absorbing all that damage nicely, but of course, you'd rather be able to just not take damage. Swabs Magoo going into the Worgen form just to juke some skill shots that might have been thrown his way, and we'll be able to grab that armor as well. Tapping the well, rotating up to the first phase. It is going to be a red in the bottom spawn, so much quicker rotation here for Naventic. A win in that regard as well.
For Naventic, they're going to get early pressure here. Their Immortal, or the enemy Immortal, spawning beside them, allowing them to get a little bit of early damage. Azuna taking a bit of damage himself from Greymane and Genji. The problem is they're going to give up a little bit in that race, and they're also a little bit behind in experience is imported support. So they've got to try find an opportunity. First Immortal, not the most, I guess, powerful Immortal, but
yeah. I mean,
you don't want to give up too healthy of an Immortal.
Not too far behind, about halfway, down in favor for Naventic here. 1/4 down on the side of the Immortal being fought by imported support, and they're just going to go for the race here with the Greymane. The B-Kid's going to be able to buy some time. There's no way they win this. Just too much damage with Thompson, Azuna, Biggie, all waiting to just power through, and level 4 is already achieved on the side of NBT.
They got a little bit of burst damage there at the end, a little bit closer than I thought it would be, but Naventic's Immortal will be the first to spawn. I was curious if we're going to see more into that Stormbolt from Naventic that we've kind of seen a little bit lately. Instead, keeping it standard.
Play safe, stay alive, and don't get caught by roots is some good advice, because that was a lot of free damage thrown their way right before the Immortal just starts tearing through the wall. Of course, yes, that is their goal, to focus the Immortal the best they can, to deny it doing damage on this fort, and it's not going to do too much, or it shouldn't, as it is only 3 minutes into this game.
You see that. That's actually a little bit more than I thought. It would get about half the fort, but it's still standing. Biggie trying to poke down from that range on Li Ming, not able to do so. Ignition going in. Peppering a little bit of damage again. He's going into his questing talent at level 4. Good for him to get in. And we'll keep an eye on that throughout the match. Once he gets those 35, good. Once he gets 75, even better.
Okay, they did start the Khazra camp and then just get rotated on. The blinds coming on in. A big damage onto specialty shields will deny any further damage. And we do have broccoli, J-How. Broccoli.
Well, I mean, I guess if positioning isn't your strong suit, you just go with something that can do a little bit of damage. So there you go.
A little bit a rare talent there from Malfurion, getting the trench, a little extra damage, as J-How mentioned in his roots there. Bottom lane, we do see the mix-up variant has become the solo laner instead of Genji, and Dahaka rotated up, of course, during that last engagement. So we'll see if that works out better than the Genji that we saw at the very start of the match. About a level lead still here on the side of Naventic, working on their Fallen Shaman camp first. Going to utilize that for a bit of split pressure.
I'm really surprised. And Naventic, obviously, they're willing to pick this up a little bit earlier. As the imported support now starting to rotate over. You do have Rhaegar, who can clear okay. They're going to rotate over, finally get over. I was wondering if we'd see them get on the same train, but it seems timing actually is a little bit better on imported support site.
Yeah. And this just allows them to have that pressure in the lane. Of course, there's a global of Dahaka in the top to respond to that camp, but this one's being escorted in, looking for damage earlier. The well, sure to fall here. Just a little bit more poke needed from Li Ming. Not even. The last two minions in the bottom do have it.
Now this is an interesting spot, right? Because the enemy Immortal is going to be opposite of your friendly side, and the camp's already been cleared up at the bottom, as the last one will fall there on the Impalers. However, up top, Dahaka's going to have just a minute to deal with the Shaman camp that was picked up by imported support, timed a little bit better. So we'll see if they try and be a little bit aggressive instead.
Oh, the Aware getting caught out here, the roots, and the Broccoli gets the kill.
I'm pretty confident that secured the kill. Just reached out there with that big tree arm. Smacked him. B-Kid being very aggressive, missing the Stormbolt as Ignition, able to dash away there.
This is rough. I mean, Genji did complete his quest talent, I believe. I saw that, fancy new animation they have on him. So he's going to be able to do a bit more damage here. But they have put themselves in this defensive posture. B-Kid breaking through, just walking by Crux, throwing the Stormbolt in, the Broccoli down, shield wall attempted. The Zarya shield might be ready. There comes Rhaegar, and they do manage to get him out, but Specialty is now their target, and they just get the kill anyways.
Imported support, they are... I think they're feeling the pressure right now. They're not making the plays that we know them to make. Their timing seems a little bit off right now, and the pressure from Naventic feels like it's getting to them. We're talking about 4 kills to 0, a full level lead on the side of Naventic, and they're going back in. Genji getting caught out. There's that CC train. It's cool to dive in and use deflect, but if you get locked down for any moment, the minute that deflect pops off, well, you're going to get popped.
Yeah, it just feels like they can't sustain through this. I mean, Biggie and Cassie at Thompson are just ripping everyone in half. Every single Stormbolt is basically confirming a kill soon after. And, I mean, Rhaegar has solid healing, right? We do see that he actually went for the Wolf Run at level 1, trying to be a little bit more safe. But even then, Rhaegar has been caught out a few times, and that just can't happen. Those kind of mistakes add up really quickly.
This is snowball material. We're talking about a full shielded Immortal. This fort down instantly. Keep wall, don't even think about it. Your keep might go here, and if you give up early kills, you might be losing core in a very quick game. Again, Naventic loves this battleground. They can put the pressure on the same fashion that we've seen them do for a long period of time, and they're doing it right now.
Big pressure. Immortal still has about a third of its shields, and they have a global to rotate in if they please. Genji desperately trying to soak the top 4 at level 10 for his team. But the story is, will this keep stay alive? I don't think so. It's going down here.
I'm with you. And if you're imported support, you've got to just resign to the fact that your keep will not be standing. You poke safely, don't give up any kills, don't give the lead any bit further to Naventic. Just, it's done, let it go, wait for 10, potentially just get desperate, pick Bloodlust.
I like the way you think, J-Hal, because maybe that will turn the tide. There's no huge disengage outside of course, Roots. And in the small corridors could make the difference. Ancestral will be picked up. We got Taunt, Expulsion Zone, Dragon Blade. So if they can find that big Dragon Blade, get the target low, get the go for the throat in there, maybe they can blow up the Malfurion, the Li Ming, Cassia, any of those more vulnerable targets. But Ignition just being chunked down from afar, needs to be careful.
It's a tough spot. I mean, that was one of the small windows, one of the few small windows that you will have, because now 13 is going to be here for Naventic. And if you want to fight on even talent tiers, great. But you're not only looking at just talent tiers, you're looking at the sheer percentage in terms of damage and health between levels as well. So you have to take that and take that opportunity. I think right now they're struggling to find those opportunities. They're going to continue to struggle. And if they make it through the next Immortal phase, it's gonna be desperation time for imported support.
You know, Jay, how you said this earlier, and just it's the lack of their solo lane, their lack of an effective clear. They're using Genji in a solo lane because he's safe. He can get away. He can just run and hide. But bottom lane has mercenary camps, catapults building up. He absolutely cannot even deal with it. I mean, even just Naventic pushing forward gets them this Merc camp. Zuna uses that burrow, uses the full heal of, the Ancestral not coming through though, and this is looking disastrous once again, losing Zarya so quickly in the fight. That's a big chunk of their sustain, and the Fallen Shaman camp will be stolen.
Naventic right now is bullying imported support. They use their talent tier advantage. They walked in, they dared them to fight them. They did, they almost took down Zuna. Good burrow, good use of adaptation. He walks away from that fight as if nothing ever happened.
It's hard to find that right target to burst. I mean, Zuna, like you said, pretty slippery. Look at Li Ming's build. She's got Dominance, Aether Walker. She's all over the place. And Twilight Dream just going to be the nail in the coffin for Genji, who can't run away if he's silenced. So that's another big kill here. Another Immortal already halfway down in favor of Naventic.
I actually like what we're seeing from Kenna. He's taken a lot of flack recently for some of the plays. And you can't hide from that, right? You either show up or get out, right? And he's showed up today. He's made a lot of good plays. We've seen the Roots on point. You know, we've seen a lot of good Twilight Dreams. Right now, he's doing a really good job keeping his team alive. Cleanse there on the specialty.
Not quite.
Wave of Force! I was waiting for it.
Okay, he got the kill. Swabs Magoo trying to use that Worgen form to slip into the shadow. Stormbolt, is it available? The Worgen form?
Disengage?
Oh.
Nope. Disengage wasn't there.
Yeah, probably 1 or 2 more seconds away from that. I'm with you, though. I mean, Naventic is a team who historically, if they are feeling confident, they just play so soundly, so in control. And right now, that's exactly what's happening. They're feeling cool. They're playing well. No mistakes, really, that I could even think of. 9 kills to 0 right now.
This is classic Naventic and imported support. Finding they're struggling to deal with it right now. Again, they have the talent. It's just, when we were in that 8 to 9 window, it seems like their timing was a bit off. They got split in team fights, and they haven't been able to recover from that. Everything up till that looked fairly normal, despite the very early pick. But imported support, they find themselves with their back against the wall. This is another very healthy Immortal, Jake, and we're going to be looking at keep number 2 going down. I see no way that this stands.
Yeah, that is a beefy shield on Mr. Immortal, tearing this house down. 16 will be attained any moment now. The tower and the minion wave probably just shy of that level. Oh, they're so very close. But regardless, it will be here. And this is potentially a game-winning push. Expulsion Zone used very early to basically no benefit. But honestly, once you push past this wall, it's hard to find that opportunity. Dwarf Toss, and they find the target secluded. Zuna gets the drag. Down goes Greymane, a big part of their damage.
Now we're looking at core. I mean, that pick right there, you had to focus the Immortal. We're jumping in again, gonna get the stun, the lockdown. The cleanse is there, the Ancestral has landed onto Crux, the ball lightning being tossed around, but we see the Immortal and the shields are falling.
Shields are falling. We do still have Twilight Dream thrown out right at that last moment. Genji will end up dying in the backside, especially retreating to the core. Core far too low. The Immortal still standing strong, and GG Naventic take a quick 2-game lead.
Man, Naventic pouring it on in these 2 games.
They brought the pain. There was no relent there. Relentless, just in their face constantly. No room to breathe. Genji pokes out. You just see the pinks furiously in the bottom lane. It's like, oh, Genji's solo laning? Even if he's the most mobile hero, we can just force him away. Don't let him soak. Don't let him do anything.
The thing that I love there is the synergy that we're starting to see from Naventic. I wondered, should it be Tyrael? Should it be Dahaka? If you actually watch, the pick at the top right was a Stormbolt from Murden, followed by the tongue from Dahaka, and you don't have the tools to keep that hero alive, and that's the Naventic we're used to. Just find a target, blow him up, and continue to roll from there.
Kenma picked Broccoli.